What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm sharing 7 awesome CNC projects that I found inspiring on a recent trip to Hobby Lobby. I'll take you through and break down each project, give you some great ideas, and ultimately reverse engineer these projects so you can take the techniques or the overall idea and generate some really cool projects yourself. All of these projects have great potential to be money makers. And I think there's only one on the list that cost more than $5 in material costs to make. So really cheap to make, low cost, high profit projects. Let's get started. All right, number 1. The first project that caught my eye was this cloud shelf. Now hear me out here. I think this technique has a ton of potential. But one, this is a functional piece of decor. It's a cloud and obviously can be used as decor, put stuff on, and we can make it on our CNCs. So the whole technique here is you're cutting out the shape and you're layering your materials. You're stacking it up. So I figure if we use 3/4 inch material and we stack up 5 layers, that's almost 4 inches. That's 3 inches, 3.75 inches. And that'll give us enough depth in our shelf. The length was about 18 inches, but honestly, you could make different sizes of these. You could make small ones, and you can make really big ones and put 3 of them on a wall. Could look really cool. I would cut the clouds out using a compression bit with a profile toolpath. So really simple inside, outside profile toolpath. Ideally, I would run a compression bit to the full depth, 3/4 of an inch. Now I know not everybody's machine setup can do that. If you need to take shallower passes here, you could use an upcut bit or a downcut bit. You're still gonna have the same thing. You're gonna have some tear out on the top or bottom edges that you'll just have to sand and clean up. So I broke down the cost of a full sheet of MDF, and it comes out to a little over $1 a square foot. Obviously this is probably gonna depend where you're at, but let's just say $1 a square foot for a 12 inch by 12 inch square. And I need 18 inches, so let's times that by half. Now, this is just rough math. Let's say $1.50 for 1 layer. We need 5 layers, so that is $7.50. So we have $7.50 into the material cost, the raw material cost to build this project. So what can we sell this for? Well, the number that comes to mind is $50. I think 50 to 60 bucks is completely reasonable for this project. Now, obviously this number won't be our profit. Minus our material costs still won't be our profit. There's other costs involved in selling and producing these products. But if you want the full picture of how I price my items for profit, I will link a video down in the description below that breaks down my complete pricing strategy and how I do that. But let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is this Taste Like Freedom sign. This one caught my eye because I think it's just a fun piece of decor. So if you don't know, this is a bomb pop. And bomb pops are red, white, and blue, and they're usually eaten in the summer, and it's an American thing. But I just thought it was a cool play on a fun piece of decor that caught my eye. All right, so how would we create something like this? Well, this is actually made in 3 different layers. The stick is a layer, and then the main popsicle is a layer, and then the letters are a different layer. So these are all glued, cut separately, glued and stacked on top of each other, which I love this technique. It has a ton of possibilities. Gluing and stacking layers together can really add some depth to projects and make them look really cool. The overall dimensions were about 18 inches wide and 8 inches tall. Now, I would probably use MDF again for this one because there's a lot of painting involved. And anytime I'm painting anything, I just use MDF and it just paints well. You don't have to worry about like the plywood edges and filling gaps and anything like that. It just paints and sands well. Another option that I have not used, but I know it is used widely, especially in like professional sign shops, is HDU. So HDU is a machinable high density urethane that paints really well. So that's an option, it would be higher material costs, but I think the quality would probably be better as well. So like I said, this is 3 different layers. So we would cut it out in 3 different tool paths. And actually to get the best look, you don't have to do this. You could use the same thickness for all 3 parts. But if you used a thinner wood for the stick, kind of a 1/2 inch, maybe a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch for the main body, and then 3/4 inch or maybe 1/2 inch for the letters, but just kind of staggering that just adds a different dimension to it. But you don't have to do that. But you can cut all 3 with profile toolpaths really easily with the downcut bit. So material costs, what would we have into making this? Well, I think we'll be around $4 in MDF. And obviously we'll have some spray paint or regular paint costs as well. So let's just call this $5 to $6, somewhere in there. But I think we can sell this all day long for $30, $35, somewhere in that price range. And it's a unique seasonal decor where people can get it out every year. And it's really just kind of puts a smile on your face when someone walks into your house. Number 3 is this heart-shaped home decor piece. Now, the reason this caught my eye is, one, I really like the idea of connecting shapes together. I think that's really unique. And then using those shapes, putting letters in each one. And then also I think the painting, the CNC with painting scheme really caught my eye in this one, which I'll break it down here in a second, how to get this exact look from a machining perspective. Just side note, I do not like the tassels. The tassels, that's the first thing that would go for me. The tassels gotta go. All right, the overall dimensions were 12 inches wide by 3 inches tall by 3/4 of an inch deep. I would use, this was obviously at Hobby Lobby, they make everything out of cheap materials, most everything. But here, I would actually use a maple or an oak. I think a light hardwood would really go a long ways here. So here's a really cool workflow of how to get this exact look. So we'd actually engrave the home and the chamfer around the heart first. Like we would leave solid wood, we wouldn't paint anything, just engrave that first. Then next, we would paint the whole wooden surface white. Let that dry. Then we would take a surfacing bit or a downcut bit and just take more passes. And we would remove the top 1/16 of an inch of the entire workpiece. Just like you were flattening your spoil board or another piece of stock, we would just take off the surface. Now, what that's gonna do is we made our engravings deeper than that, so they're gonna stay white, and then everything else is gonna be a wood color. Now, the only thing that you have to paint afterwards here is the edges. The edges, there's no way to paint them beforehand and machine them. So you would just do a profile toolpath around the outside, take it out, and you just have to fill in the edges by hand or something along those lines. But that's how you would get this inset white letter look without hand painting it. We'd have about $4 at an oak or maple for material costs for this one. And I think that we can sell this one for around $25. A nice custom piece. You could even change the lettering in the middle. It doesn't have to say home. You could make it personalization, a date, extend this out to 20 hearts. A lot of possibilities here. But again, focusing on connecting those shapes together to make a unique shape is really what caught my eye here. Number 4 is this decor riser. So this one caught my eye because everybody cuts out charcuterie boards and different shaped trays, but this one takes it one step further with making it a decor riser or a plant stand. And it's really simple. You're cutting out a charcuterie board or something along those lines, but you're just making 3 pockets, 3 1-inch pockets to fit a 1-inch wood dowel in those holes to make this stand. Now, you'd have to cut the wood dowels at an angle to get that look of where they're angled out. But this takes something super simple that everybody's doing, and just by adding one extra step, the whole point here is just by adding one extra step, you really turn this into something else. So this can be done with a downcut bit and 2 tool paths, the profile tool path that cuts the outside shape, and then a pocketing tool path with that same bit that cuts the 1-inch diameter holes. So this can be made out of pine, oak, made out of anything really if you wanted to stain it. The options for what material you use are endless, but I would use a hardwood here of some sort. So I figure we have about $4 into these, and we can sell these for 20 bucks. 25 bucks, somewhere in there, again, for this size. Now, depending on, you can make it smaller, you can make it bigger, a lot of different options here that would obviously impact the price. But again, the reason this one caught my eye was just it doesn't take much to make something different and unique. Just by adding one extra step or one extra thing, it completely changes what everybody else is doing to set yourself apart. So, add legs to your projects. Number 5, Hobby Lobby already has their fall stuff out, which I'm not ready to think about fall yet. It's gonna be here before you know it. And it is this porch decor. So a couple reasons why this one caught my eye. One, porch decor in the fall is really popular. And I thought this one was cool because have you ever seen, it's a thing to have the stackable pumpkins. Like people actually stack real pumpkins. They grow flat. If you've never seen them, it's hard to explain, but they have a stack of pumpkins. And this is kind of a wooden version of that. So popular item in the fall. Everybody has these on their porch. This can also be made out of one piece of wood that's 4 feet tall by 10 inches wide. And the other thing is it can be customized. You could put someone's name on it. You could engrave letters, home, welcome, a lot of different possibilities here with the same color scheme. Typically, I'm not a fan of using pine just because it gums up all your woodworking tools just because of the pitch in it, the stickiness. But here, go to your local home store and buy an 8-foot 1x10 and cut it in half. It's gonna cost you about $9 depending where you're at. And you can just plop the whole thing on your CNC. Now, if you have a smaller CNC, you might have to tile this a little bit, but that's completely possible as well. But put the whole thing on your CNC and cut it out. And the toolpath that we'll use is one, the profile toolpath, a downcut bit to cut out the outer edges, right? The overall shape. But then to get the pumpkin look that they've got going here is you could paint or stain first and then take your V-groove bit and you can either set it to like we did before and set a like max depth, or you could just V-carve this to where you had different changes in depths, but you're basically removing that coloring and exposing the real wood, and it gives you this look. So 2 simple tool paths, really cool piece with a lot of potential. So like I said, $9 into material cost, and I see this selling for 50 or 60 bucks in my area all day long. Number 6, I'm calling this Blessed Heart. The reason this caught my eye is because it's a shape within a shape. And I haven't seen much of that before. So that's pretty cool. So you have the outer heart shape, and the size of this was like 4 inches by 4 inches by an inch. It did have a little more depth to it than you would think, but a shape within a shape. You have a heart, and then you have a cross within that heart. Really cool technique that I think has a lot of possibilities. So Hobby Lobby is using a cheap material here, but I think we go the opposite direction and use a hardwood like walnut. So for the bits and toolpath, we'd start with a 30-degree V-groove bit and carve the blessed text or whatever text you wanted, but I'd use a 30-degree V-groove bit here. And then it's just using a 1/4-inch downcut bit and a profile toolpath to cut it all out. So a really cool look for really simple machining, 2 toolpaths, and has a really cool look. So since we're using walnut here, we have about $5 into material costs. Now, that's gonna change depending on where you live, because I've heard some walnut prices being ridiculous, but about $5 in my area will cover our material cost. And I think this one will easily sell for $20 to $25. Number 7, we have this sunflower wall decor. Now, this caught my eye because of the intricacy, and it is using 2 different machines. A CNC router and a CNC laser was used to make this exact one. That's what I love about the power of CNC, whether router or laser, is you can make really intricate designs. This actually could be made entirely with a CNC router or entirely with a CNC laser. But this particular one used both. The overall dimensions are about 14 inches and a 1/2 inch thick. Again, Hobby Lobby made this one out of a similar material to MDF and painted it white. And to recreate it, I think we stick with MDF, a 1/2 inch MDF, because it machines well and paints well. So the workflow to recreate this one is machine the entire thing with a profile toolpath. All it is cutting out these small intricate shapes with an 1/8 inch downcut bit, and then come back and paint the entire thing white. Then stick it in the laser and laser the little oblong circles on the middle to get the little dots. And that's all it is. It also, if you look closely, it looks like they roughed up the edges a little bit to give it the distressed look. But at the end of the day, that's all it takes to make this wallflower decor. This could be scaled up infinitely, or make it really small, make into like custom coasters, or a giant 4-foot piece of wall decor. I figure we have about $1.50 into MDF, and let's say another $1.50 for paint and the hanging hardware on the back. And the number that comes to mind to sell this is $25 to $30. So which project or technique did you find the most inspiring? Which one are you going to use in your next CNC project? Let me know down in the comments below. I encourage you, the next time you're walking through any store, just look at items and try to reverse engineer them in your mind. Like, how would I machine that? How would I put it and fix it to my bed? What tool paths would I use? What bits would I use to create that? Can I create that? And I think it's a great exercise just to look and see how something's made, and just with that curiosity will lead us to discovering new techniques and new inspirations that we can apply to all of our CNC projects. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll enjoy this video right here where I share even more CNC project inspiration. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.